never ever in a million years expected this to happen. She's like, what? Great policy. Why doesn't Air India have this? I held a stroller, I held a rolling bag, and I just ran. I need to gear myself up for this part. I'm like, oh my god, like when can this day end already? Hello and welcome. Hi, I'm Satshya. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This video is one of the strangest, most stressful things that I've ever gone through. A couple of weeks ago, I posted this reel about how I was moving from Singapore to India with my baby and a dog, and just saying, oh, if you have any tips for traveling with the baby and a dog, please share and I'll let you know how it goes, etc. I never ever in a million years expected this to happen. So I'm just sharing this video because I don't want anybody else to go through it. So if you are planning to travel with a dog and a baby, please watch. Or even if you don't have any plans, you don't have a dog or a baby, but if you want to know an insane travel story, then watch this video. Hello! Easy. So we knew that traveling with a dog and a baby is going to be stressful and all of these things. So we made a lot of arrangements ahead of time. So on the day of travel, our flight is around 8:30. We wake up at 3 a.m. We have our entire house packed up. Like, the house is empty. We vacated the house. Not a single spoon also in the house. We've packed up everything. We have 4 big luggages. We have 2 trolleys. We have 2 backpacks. We have dog. We have dog travel crate. We have baby stroller, car seat, a whole bunch of things. Okay, so to transport all this also, we had to do a lot of coordination. We got a mini bus to take us. We had a pet cab to take us, and we had 2 of our neighbors also to come and help us with all of these things, because when you're traveling with the baby, both your hands are engaged, so you literally cannot pull anything else. And our very kind neighbors came along with us. So 5 a.m. in the morning, we leave the house. We are sleepy, we are tired, but all we're thinking is, okay, few more hours, then we'll reach Delhi, we'll have some nice rajma chawal, we'll have a nice nap, because the previous week also was so busy, so stressful, just packing up, selling things, giving things away. It's a lot of work to empty a house and vacate, especially if you are doing it with a baby, which means that someone always has to be with the baby, or like holding the baby, feeding the baby, and the dog running around. It's just chaos. Okay, but we managed to do it. It was fine, and we were like, all done, we are just going. Oh, were we wrong? So we reached the airport, and we were to fly by Air India. Okay, first red flag, flying by Air India with a pet. I think we should have noticed the red flags in advance also, but we thought it was protocol for like all aircrafts. So the thing is, usually when you're flying with an animal, you don't book a separate seat for them, because any dog above like 5 kgs or 7 kgs has to go in as excess baggage. So they won't go in the aircraft itself. And our dog is about 12, 13 kgs. Usually the protocol is you inform the airline that, we have an animal traveling on this day with this PNR number. So just, make sure. So when we called Air India, they said, if the captain says for any reason that you cannot board, then you cannot board. So we were also like, okay, I mean, fair enough, but we couldn't think of any possible reason that the captain would reject it, because we had gotten all of his documentation done, and that is another one big headache. Okay, it took an entire week to do. We had a great agency in India. Their name is Petfly. I'll put the contact details in the description or maybe on the screen. They are great if you want to travel with pets. But we're like, okay, I think so many people have traveled with Air India and their pets, and I've not really heard anything negative. And it's such an established airline, right? So they would have things figured out. Oh, we reach. We are checking in, and then they say, we just have to make sure that the aircraft, the captain gives the go ahead for the animal. So we said okay. And in Singapore, how the airport works is that if anybody can enter into the airport up until the immigration side. Our neighbors, dog, everyone was in that place where all the airline counters are, so anybody is allowed there. So we had just checked in, we had gotten our boarding passes as well. They said just wait for the aircraft to land, we'll have to get it checked. We were like, okay, they'll get it checked. I don't know why we were so weirdly confident or calm about it, and we thought we just never imagined anything could go wrong. But it's Air India, okay? We are waiting for about an hour after checking in. We are just sitting there. Dog is in the crate, power. He can't be outside, right? So he's just in the crate. He's sitting like people. There's so many new sight sounds and all that for him. He's sitting quietly. We're just talking to him, calming him down. Mean like baby is crying, so I'm walking around with her. I go to the bathroom, change her diaper, come back. So we're just like, there's so much stress, and we're just waiting to just board the aircraft and just reach. We went to the counter to check, and the airline staff comes and tells us, "Hey, sorry, you cannot board because the thermostat is not working." And we were like, what? How? How is it not like? How is it not working? Some context. The thermostat in the cargo area, which is where the dogs are being kept, is very important because temperatures can get really cold up in the air, and if it's not working properly, a pet can freeze and die of cold. So it's really important that the thermostat is working. So obviously we wouldn't have boarded the aircraft if the thermostat is not working. So we're like, okay, thank you for letting us know. Still surprised thermostat is not working, but must be a one-off. So can we get on like the next flight out, because we have all this stuff with us. It's so difficult to go back, and we just wanted to leave. And they said, yes, there is another flight, but we cannot promise if the thermostat will work in that flight also. And we're just like, what? And so we're panicking, everything. Okay, we can't leave, so let's figure out how else we can get there. And to his credit, Akash was super calm through this, because if he was freaking out, I would have freaked out a lot. I was also like mildly like, "Ugh," but okay, now we need to figure out what to do next. So we think, okay, what's the next flight out of here? Any airline going to Delhi? We figure it's Singapore Airlines. So we go up to them and we're like, hey, can we get on this flight? And they say, no, if you're traveling with a pet, we need about a week's advance notice, because we have to make sure that the thermostat is working and the airline is fit for flying. And we're like, great policy. Why doesn't Air India have this? At that point, we have no option. We go back home to an already vacated house. But luckily, we spoke to our house agent, and we told him, we had paid the rent until the end of the month. So we're like, can we stay here for a few more days until we sort this out? Like, it's so confusing, so bizarre. And he was like, no problem. He was very kind about it. And the neighbors who came to help us out, we stayed at their house. It was so like in a time which was so confusing and so stressful. They were like two angels that God had sent. They fed us. They held Tara for a while I could sleep for some time. Like, it was, when I'm thinking about that time only, I'm getting so stressed. Then we decided, okay, you know what, we cannot take a risk with Tonu. There is no way we are again booking with Air India just to go all the way to the airport and then hope that the thermostat is working. And in case it stops working in the middle of the flight, what happens then to the pet? Like, we couldn't even fathom putting him through that risk, especially like looking at him inside that crate. He's looking at us, he's gone into it with so much trust that we'll take care of him, and there is no way we would have ever taken that gamble. So we decided we go with Singapore Airlines, but they needed 1 week's notice, right? All of his documentation is valid only for 24 hours, which means you have to redo the entire thing. We had two options: all of us stay back, or only Tara and I go to Delhi. Tara is really young, okay? She needs a stable space, and more importantly, she needs diapers. Diapers are really heavy, okay? And we had already had excess baggage, so I had packed enough diapers for the trip and some more backup extra. But because we had to stay another day, I was running out of diapers. And luckily, again, our neighborhood is really nice. The apartment complex we were living in, I had a friend who also recently had a baby. So I texted her. I was like, can you please lend me some diapers? So sweet. She sent so many over. So that was a relief. It just wasn't possible to stay over at our empty house. We didn't have the sterilizer, changing table, so many things that without which 1 week with a baby was going to be really hard. So decided that Tara and I would travel alone to Delhi the next day, and Akash and Tonu would remain on in Singapore for another week until all their documentation etc. got sorted. And then comes the story of traveling alone with a newborn, an infant. Was okay. I need to gear myself up for this part. Okay. We go to the airport again. This time I'm flying Singapore Airlines, and I was very afraid that I was just afraid if she's going to scream throughout the flight and everybody will hate me, and I don't know what to do. Suppose, they tell us put your seatbelts on, but I need to walk around and soothe her. What do I do? Like, I was really, really scared, but I was trying not to show it. Reached the airport, and then I think, okay, let me feed her first so that she's calm throughout check-in and immigration. So this video is me feeding her in that area, before immigration, where everybody can be there. And it seemed to be going okay, but then I put her in the stroller, and then she starts crying. And she starts crying, 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 like screaming, okay? And she's crying like she's losing breath, kind of crying, that intense cry. And I couldn't do anything because I had to go through immigration. Like, I can't carry her, there was no place to feed her. And I was just in my mind thinking, okay, let me just get through immigration fast, let me just find a feeding room, and then she'll be okay. And she's crying so much, like tears were coming to my eyes also. It was so heartbreaking to hear that. And so I go to the immigration place. So in Singapore, immigration also, thankfully, is just you just scan your passport. You don't have to stand in line for a long time and meet someone, answer all their questions. You just scan your passport, you get your retina and thumb scan, and then it's done. But even that, like, I had to go through a special section because I had a stroller, and I was also crying. Just crying, gave my passport to that lady, and I was like, is there a buggy service, is there a feeding room? She couldn't understand what I was saying because I was crying. And then so she just told me, okay, there's an information desk there. So I'm pushing the stroller. Okay, I have the stroller in one hand, I have a rolly bag, I have my diaper bag. One tip: if you're traveling alone with a baby, just carry a backpack, keep both hands free. Like, do not have a rolling bag like those cabin bags. You won't be able to manage. I got information, and then I asked them, and they say there's something else nearby. I go to them, they say, oh, have you pre-booked a buggy? I'm like, I'm still crying. I'm like, no, where do I do it? And they're like, you have to go another place. I was like, oh, okay, you know what? Baby scream. She's crying, her face is red. I'm like, do you just, where is the nearest feeding room? I still remember there was a point where I was pushing her on the stroller. I was just like, Jesus, please help me. Like, that song is, Jesus take the wheel. I was literally like, Jesus, it's in your hands. Like, I just commit this moment in your hands. Please help me. Please help me. Please help me. Because I was feeling so lost. I was feeling so hopeless. I was feeling like, oh my God, like, how do I help my baby? That feeding room felt like an oasis. It was clean. It was just a single small space only for diaper change and feeding. Like, diaper change, that thing is there, right? That you put down and you change the baby on. And then there was a small cubicle with like a comfortable, like a leather kind of chair where you could sit and feed the baby. And I'm so grateful that there's something like that available, a facility. I don't know about other airports because I've never had the need for a feeding room before, but I wish every airport has something like this. Like, it's not something that's in the toilet, like something that's separate, because you want privacy when you're feeding. Otherwise, people are walking in, walking out, walking in, walking out. And so I just sat there and I fed her. I changed her, I put her into a night suit, and I don't know how, by some miracle, thank you God, she fell asleep. I was like, okay, at least she's not crying. So I come out, and then I go to the departures, that board, to see, okay, which is my gate. And I see my gate number, and I see it says final call. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I was like, no way am I missing another flight and going back all the way. I held a stroller, I held a rolling bag, and I just ran. I literally ran, did 100 meters race through the airport. I was like, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, shouting, 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 and I ran. And I reached the gate area. And in Singapore, security is done at the gate. It's not a separate security line. So there are a lot less people also. And reached there, and the airline staff was so nice. That lady was like, are you traveling alone? So I said, yeah. So once you finish security, you go to one more place where you check your boarding pass, and then you can enter the aircraft. So she was like, are you alone? I said, yeah. So she's like, oh no, you need someone to help you, come. So they assigned one person to me who just carried my bag and my backpack. And that was so helpful, because before you enter the aircraft, they gate check your stroller. So which means they like pack it up and put it, because you can't take it into the aircraft. So he did that. So because he did that, then I had to carry my baby, right? I wouldn't have been able to have backpack and roller and carrying baby. So the fact that he was helping me out with all my luggage was, I was feeling so grateful and like so relieved. He showed me to my seat as I was holding the baby. I just had to sit down. He only put up everything, all my luggage, made sure I was okay. That second half onwards, after I prayed, I have to say, I just felt like there was so much guidance and so much help throughout all of it. And then throughout the flight, 5 hours flight, baby is fast asleep. Baby slept throughout. She did not cry. She just woke up once and twice to feed and went back to sleep. I was so relieved. Only thing is I could not eat anything because the tray goes down like this, right? And though I had a bassinet seat where they put a bassinet for you, every time I tried to put her down to the bassinet, she woke up and would start crying. So I was like, okay, I don't want to disturb her sleep. I just held her, and if I put the tray table, like the food table, down, it would because I was holding her, it would have hit her, would have touched it, would have disturbed her. Stewardess's staff was also really, really nice, and they were like, we can hold her while you have a meal. So I said okay, but when I gave her to the air stewardess, what am I saying, air stewardess? When I gave her to the airline staff, she started crying. So then I was like, you know what, it's okay. So they just brought me in a cup. They brought me a bread roll and some butter and a chocolate, basically things that I could eat with one hand. So that was helpful. And I also shout out to another angel who was sitting next to me. Her name is Avni. She was so nice to me, so kind to me. I was feeling very awkward to ask, can you do this? Hey, excuse me, can you help me with that? Like, I can't ask 20 times, I can ask one time. Beyond that, I was feeling awkward to ask, like, am I disturbing her? But she was so perceptive to me that first, they keep like blankets and all on the seat, right? So once when I sat, like, because both my hands are holding my baby, I was trying to take the blanket and she's like, oh, can I help you with that? I was like, thank you so much. So she took it aside. Then I wanted headphones, okay, but the headphones were in the seat front, like it was a little more further ahead. So I couldn't bend down like that because I had my seatbelt on. I couldn't bend down to take it. So I was just quietly sitting looking at the screen. I thought, okay, 5 hours, I'll just stare at the empty screen. I can't do anything. Maybe when the stewardess comes, I'll ask her. But then this girl's like, hey, do you want to watch something? I was like, yeah. She's like, hey, I'll help you with your headphones. So she gave me my headphones. She put it on for me. She did so many things that normally, look, if you're traveling with your partner or, your family member, you'll ask them to do all these things, right? But generally, you're not so comfortable asking a stranger to do so many things, and they are also trying to relax on a flight. You don't want to bother them. But she was so, like, so kind, so helpful, and she just made the journey really good. So the journey itself was good. We land in Delhi and Akash had booked a concierge service. I'll put the name here. It was quite good actually if you're traveling alone with a baby. Soon after I came out of the aircraft, there was someone holding a board with my name on it. And so then he helped me with all my luggage. So and he escorted me to immigration. There was a line where you travel with infants, right? That's a very short line. So we went through that line, finished it very fast. He had a porter friend. It's part of the same service only. So who wait at the baggage counter and you just have to tell them which bags you have to collect. And that person is the one who, lifts it and takes it off the belt. Because if I was traveling alone with her and I'm carrying her, it would have been, again, almost impossible for me to lift such a heavy bag off the baggage belt. I'm sure people would have offered to help, but it was just great having a service like that. And they also helped me through up until I departed. So if you are alone traveling with a baby or with someone who's really old, or someone who's traveling alone who's a vulnerable person who needs some help in the airport, yeah, you can contact these people. They were pretty good. Then reached Yantara, I was crying because Delhi was so hot when we landed. We landed in the night. Okay, it's like 8 p.m. something, but it feels like 1 p.m. in the afternoon. It is so hot. So she's uncomfortable, she's crying, and I'm like, oh no. We'll get there, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. I just quickly pushed the stroller, and then we finally reached the car. And in Delhi, you have to go to the car park, okay? So it's not like the car can come to the entrance. I don't know what the rule is now. I don't know how it's changed, but basically for arrivals, I guess, you have to go to the car park. So even walking up till there in that heat, he was crying. I was like, oh my god, like, when can this day end already? Once we got in the car, Then I fed her immediately. She calmed down and she went to sleep. And so then I reached Delhi and I was so relieved. But then Akash, poor thing, he's alone with Tonu. He stayed back and in a house. Again, our neighbors were really sweet. They lent towels, utensils, because we had to make Tonu's food also, right, for him. When I spoke to that auntie about it, she was like, just God puts different people in different um, people's lives, and you might be that person in someone else's life also, where you are able to help them out. And so yeah, I hope I get that chance to be of that kind of help, to someone else, because I really, really, really cannot imagine going through that with just Akash and I in the airport, stuck. Okay, so anyway, we redid all the documents, redid everything. Tony had to go through all his checks again, get through all the documentation. Finally, they got to the airport, and I was so nervous the entire day because of what happened the first time. I was like, till they land in Delhi, I'm going to be like praying. I cannot relax. Everything went very smoothly. He got checked in. Um, so dogs, they are usually checked in as express package. He got checked in. They had a smooth flight. That same agency which we had hired to help with the travel, with all the documents, they also have someone at the airport itself who, will help you with the dog's documents and customs clearance and stuff. Again, highly recommend Petfly. It was such a smooth experience. Also because, when we first got rejected from Air India, it was around 8 a.m., which is around 5:30 a.m. India time. I called the person in charge and I was like, I'm so sorry, it's 5:30 in the morning. And I thought she'll scold me and be like, how can you call me this thing? But she was very calm and she's like, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Because I wanted to ask if the same documents can apply to another airline as well. So she said, okay, these are the things you can do, this you can do. So just the way that they were so helpful, so professional, I highly recommend them. Again, like someone I will never forget. Then they also finally reached and I finally got to see my baby Tonu after so long. It took 10 days for them to come. All this hectic insanity just because of one airline and its policy. Bizarre policy. I feel like the risks are not explained as well. I don't know, I feel like maybe someone else has maybe not gone through it or have not spoken about it. I don't know what, okay? But if you are watching this and you're planning to fly your pets anywhere, go with any other carrier. Um, not someone who will say last minute we'll see, but just call them in advance before you book your ticket to make sure that their pet policy is intact. I can highly vouch for Singapore Airlines because the experience was fantastic. Even traveling me alone with Tara, the airline crew was super nice, super helpful. Just overall, very smooth experience. And this is not me dissing Air India or anything, because Tata recently bought them, so we had really high hopes that, new aircraft, new management, it's going to be great, right? So I'm still hoping that it'll get better, that maybe it takes a while to reorganize systems and things like that. So I think it'll be a while before I fly Air India again. To be honest, I had a very bad experience. 1 second. So yeah,